Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0 Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Welcome back to the 3-0 Take, presented by Big League Chew. This is episode 308. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin, and I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes. Nate, and the return of special guest, Ryan Ripken. At some point, we're just going to have to just start saying Ryan Ripken joins us, because you're not, I mean, no offense, Ryan, but you're not as much of a special guest anymore. You're one of the boys. You're just part of the crew.
Yeah.
That's flattering. That is flattering. That has made my Monday so far. Obviously, whatever name, guest, my own name, whatever you want to say, I'm just glad to be on, and I'm glad you can consider me one of the boys. It's like I said, always a pleasure with you too.
People can just count on hearing Ryan Ripken every Monday on the 3-0 Take, and that's something that they, as well as Nate and I, can look forward to.
Yeah, there you go. You're in. Simple as that.
Thank you, guys.
Like Flynn.
Simple as that. If you guys like it or not, I'm here. So I'm glad to be with you.
I feel like I do need to put this out there, though, because I did have people asking questions, and Ryan, don't want to put you on the spot here, but people were wondering how in the world I got the seats that I did for this weekend's Sox-O's game, and they said, surely that costs a lot of money, and I said, well, we know a guy. We know a guy. and the majority of the people came back and said, yeah, that was my first guess. That was my first guess. So
people were putting the pieces together.
They put the pieces together. They said, this guy is an O's guy, and Kyle is at an O's game. So
to give backstory to people with this is that initially Kyle and I were going to try to go to the Red Sox O's game, at least one game in the series, and we picked the date. And unfortunately, then as it got closer, I realized I had to travel. And I like to think I'm a man of my word, and I wanted you guys to have the experience. You guys went for a good game to be a Red Sox fan, and it seemed like it was a good experience. I'm glad you got to be able to go, but we will have to run that back where both of us can be in the same spot.
Yeah, no, it was it was good. I'm not here to rub it in, but it was a weekend for the Sox to put the O's on notice. Be like, hey, let's temper expectations a little bit. The division still runs through the Big Four. We're just having a little bit of an off year. That's all. But it was good. It was good.
And you got some airtime.
Yeah, I mean it sucked for Meredith. Her face was blocked by the score bug the whole time. But I mean it was a good day for old KC. I know that much. So if I haven't already said, thank you for the experience. That was quite the experience.
Sox really keeping that playoff chance alive too, so that's good.
I think it's less than 0.1%, but hey,
it is.
It was.
They're alive. They're not dead.
It was a good day at the park. That's all I'm going to say. We're not going to talk about expectations yet. What we are going to talk about, and we just were mentioning it before we hopped on air. Ryan's got a little background with this. We're going to talk about some of the rule changes that were announced, I believe, on Friday. Let's start with the pitch timer. So the pitch timer will be coming to Major League Baseball in 2023. If I read it correctly, it appears as though we're going to have a 30-second timer between batters, and then between pitches, there will be a 15-second timer. With bases empty. With bases empty. Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah. And then 20 seconds with runner on base.
Yeah.
So
I like it. I mean, I'm a fan.
Yeah, we kind of saw this coming. What do we think?
I'm okay with it. I think it's. I keep hearing the take that it's going to affect hitters more than people think, and I would agree. I think hitters and probably relievers, I feel like, are the two, because relievers are those like, hey, I'm only out here for 20, 25 pitches, so I'm going max effort, and those are the guys that take so much time in between pitches. Whereas you have starting pitchers that are more used to having a tempo and kind of keeping up with the flow of the game. I'm curious to see the interaction between umpires and hitters, though. I think that's what I'm really holding out for.
Yeah, my take, I think what's going to happen is changing people's rhythm and what they're kind of going off what you're saying, but their routine. And so for pitchers and for hitters, it's routine based. And so I think the pitching routine might affect them more, especially relievers where, let's face it, you see guys that come out of the pen. And I think, I saw this firsthand. Hendricks for the White Sox likes to take more of his time. And that's going to be an interesting component because a lot of guys have been used to pitching this way. And I know that they've been sampling it this year in the minors. And it has ruffled some feathers. I think long-term, people will get used to it. Short-term, I think that is going to be a thing. And you're right. Both hitters and pitchers, they're creatures of habit. I think we can all say we all were used to our own habits. That's going to be a hard thing is to get in that routine, especially probably in year one.
I feel like I gotta qualify what I'm about to say here because I don't want it to come across as me just barking at every new change that comes down the pipe. But to me, I feel like we're starting to get in a dangerous situation with Major League Baseball where we're starting to quantify everything. We're starting to put, I don't want to say restrictions, but you're putting parameters on, you're signing parameters to just about everything. And it's almost as if you are eliminating from baseball what makes baseball so special. And it's that the guy on the mound has to throw the ball. The guy at the plate has to attempt to hit the ball. And then when you start adding these timers in, then to me, and it's certainly more complex than how I'm making it sound right now, but you're basically just throwing it. You're just lumping it in there with all the other sports where you're saying, okay, well, we got a quota to hit here. We got a time restriction to meet here for old Uncle Rob. Like we got to get this thing moving. I'm just not. I don't know. I mean, in all reality, are these guys that are taking 3-4 days in between pitches? Are they as common as they're making it sound? I just can't imagine that being the case.
I think you and I see things differently because we're not the average fans, right? Like all three of us have this thought process in between pitches, right? Like I love you. We went to the wild card game, and I was like, after every pitch, I was thinking of like what would be next in the pitch sequence, right? Like he just went fastball in. What is he trying to set him up for? Is he thinking soft and away? Like that's how my mind goes, right? And so I have my mind filled with thoughts during that gap. I think the average fan or newer fan does not. And so they're like, okay, that was a ball. We're ready for the next one. Let's go. Yeah, here we go. There's no real preparation for what could happen next. And I think that's how the newer fans are going to get used to things. It's like, all right, well, we can start to figure this stuff out a little bit quicker. And I'm okay with it. I really am. And unless I'm watching these games and it feels rushed, but like as an infielder, as a former infielder, all three of us, we're all on board with our guy getting back on the rubber and saying, let's go. Right. So like, I think I'm okay with it personally.
Like, I think long term, like this is going to turn out to not be as much of an issue. I just do really think because, let's face it, at the highest level, it hasn't been done. And the continued conversation with Major League Baseball is how do we improve the quote unquote product? How do we make the game more efficient? And I think you're right to the point. Not every fan is going to look at it maybe from the strategical stance between each pitches or how you're getting yourself getting yourself prepared as the pitcher or as a hitter. So that part plays into it. And MLB is trying to find more ways to be engaging for the fans, to keep them more on their toes. Because for the other major professional sports, the only other sport that really takes time between plays so much is football. But football is the most watched sport. It's the most entertaining because it seems like every play something's happening. Baseball can be a ball one, and then you're waiting for the next pitch. So long term, I think
NFL
this is going to help the game.
Nobody wants to talk about this, but
ahead.
The NFL has actually less action time than Major League Baseball. But that's a conversation that people aren't ready to have. They just
right.
They just
But the reason is because in between each play minus penalties, it's going to be a run. It's going to be a pass. There could be some sort of action that's going to take place. In baseball, there's no guarantee that, a ball is going to be put in play or that the hitter is going to swing at it.
Yeah.
But as a baseball fan, you love the chess match. But if you're trying to engage newer fans, like Nate was saying, I think that's going to help. But players are going to be stressed about this in the beginning. Make no mistake. It's going to be a growing pain type of thing, but I think down the road in a couple of years, we won't be talking about it.
Let me ask this. I was talking about putting restrictions, parameters, quantifying everything, just essentially adding so much to the pot, so much to the mix that you lose the simplicity of the game. I've got the article pulled up here right now that has the intricacies of it all. Tell me how it makes sense for a league to ask its players to keep all of these things in mind. Okay. So if you're either a pitcher or a base runner or a guy at the plate, so you have to keep in mind that there's a 30-second timer between batters, like we talked about. 15 seconds with bases empty, 20 seconds with runners on the base. Let's see, what else do we have here? The pitcher must begin his motion to deliver the pitch before the expiration of the pitch timer. Pitchers who violate the timer are charged with an automatic ball. Batters who violate the timer are charged with an automatic strike. Batters must be in the box and alert to the pitcher by the 8-second mark or else be charged an automatic strike. With runners on base, the timer resets if the pitcher attempts a pickoff or steps off the rubber. Pitchers are limited to 2 disengagements, pickoff attempts, or step-offs per plate appearance. Like, if a third, it continues. If a third pickoff attempt is made, the runner automatically advances 1 base. If the pickoff attempt is not successful, like all of these
it's
things,
a lot.
How is it fair to ask these guys? And I get it, like new rules are implemented, you have to grow and adapt, but it's just in order to make this work, you have to put all of these smaller details that these guys just, I don't know, it just seems like a lot.
It's going to be a trial and error. Honestly, I think you're going to get the feedback and people aren't going to like it. I don't know if it says, I haven't looked over in, the fine print of it all. I think a warning initially should be the first case. Be like, hey, here's the warning. It's your only warning for the game. I don't know if that's in the writing or not, but it's not going to be perfect. And the thing is, I think MLB, if you're going to go this way, you have to try to guideline everything possible instead of you get put in a situation and then you go, well, wait, what's the rule for this? So I give them props for doing that. But like you're saying, it is confusing to hear that all out loud. I think as a fan or as a player, you just hope as over time everyone gets in the rhythm of this internal clock that they've used in the past. They're going to start to get used to this. And I'm glad they're doing it for the off season and not during the season. So hopefully guys can start to prepare for this a little bit more. Right. Unlike last year when they had the sicky stuff happen during the season.
Right.
So I think a full off season plus this first year, I think will give guys at least enough leeway to get that internal clock of, okay, we need to go.
Yeah. I'm curious to see. I don't know. I haven't really paid attention. I think it's majority of guys that are using the pitch comm now, right? I mean, there's only a select few that still are asking for catchers to throw down fingers. I think that's probably going to be like a league-wide thing implemented next year with this. The other thing I'm curious about is how many hitters are you going to see act like there's something in their eye? They call time, adjust their batting gloves, fix their helmet, rub their eye, whatever. How many times can the pitcher step off the rubber? If there's, if there's miscommunication in those, pitcher catcher back and forth of what pitch I want to throw, how long are we able to cycle through these pitches that you're pressing on these buttons for me to say, no, okay, yes, let's go. So I think there's stuff that needs to be cleaned up, but I think you're right, Kyle. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be strange at first. But I everything I've heard from the minor league system is that like both players and fans are loving it. That's the feedback that I've gotten.
From what I saw data-wise, it looks as though the pitch timer reduced the average time of a game across minor league baseball by about 26 minutes.
That's a big chunk.
And again, I just want to clarify, I'm not necessarily against the pitch timer. I just think...
There's a lot to it. You're
There's
right.
a lot to it.
There's a lot of points to it, and I think over time, like I've said, right now when we're looking at it, it's hard to get your head around all of these. How is it going to work? But
And
like Nate was saying, it's making an effect, and I think down the road it's going to be fine. But in the short term, it's just going to take. You're going to have the frustrations. It's going to be stressful. It's going to even be somewhat annoying. But eventually, I think that the game will adapt to it. And they're going to have to. They're going to have to adapt.
Right.
Defensive shift limits. The defensive team must have a minimum of 4 players on the infield with at least 2 infielders completely on either side of second base.
And on the dirt, correct?
4 infielders must be within the outer boundary of the infield when the pitcher is on the rubber. Infielders may not switch sides. If the infielders are not aligned properly at the time of the pitch, this is where you start losing me. It's like, what is this? Build the game? If the infielders are not aligned properly at the time of the pitch, the offense can choose an automatic ball or the result of the play. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kinds of things where you start losing me. Like the automatic ball or automatic strike for the pitch timer, the choosing the result of the play. Like, what is this? Choose your own adventure story? I don't. What are we doing?
I think it's consequences, and I think that's what it's trying to get to. I think MLB is trying to implement more of like a penalty style situation, right? Like we see delay of game on the offensive side for football. It's that 5-yard penalty. A lot of times they'll burn a timeout to avoid that. And then, like the 3-second or 5-second violation, whatever it is in the NBA. And then you work your way down into like, okay, well now you're out of fouls. So now we're getting free throws to the other side. I think it's creating a new way of advancing offensive stuff, advancing production in the game. Honestly, I think reading these rules now, it's like you could be that way with any rule. If you pull up the official rule book and you read through it, you're like, this is exhausting. Like, why? This is too much. Why are we? What's up with the verbiage in this? And I think that's just the way all rules are. I'm excited to see how this affects things, and it's going to be heartbreaking to see teams lose in certain ways like that. If this is a full count, bases loaded, 2 out situation, and then you're taking that, okay, I'll take that free ball and walk a guy in. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's there. I think it's going to take some modifying for sure.
Yeah, I'm indifferent, to be honest, on the shift changes. Growing up before they moved to so many shifts, I thought, man, this kind of looks, ridiculous. It's not what the game was intended to do, but I don't fault people because you think if you have data analytics, you believe that's the best percentages to help you be successful defensively, get outs, and to help your team. So I don't blame them for that aspect. And as a hitter, it goes both ways. I would be super frustrated when I smoked the ball right into the shift, but then I'd be extremely pleased when I cued a ball that no one's at third base. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I'm just truly going to be indifferent about this moving forward. But again, like all these rules, it's the shift part here is at least relatively new. It's not like the pitch clock has never been a part of baseball. Like baseball used to not have these shifts. So at least there's going to be at least an understanding of how things were. But again, I'm curious to see what players are. But for me personally, I think it might bother managers more. But as for players, I think guys will be okay with it.
I think I go back to that what we talked about when we first heard this as a thing, and Frankie Lindor came out and said, "Trust me as the shortstop to be athletic enough to get to this ball." And I think that's kind of what we've missed. Like I miss those diving plays, throwing runners out from your knees kind of thing. That's what I want that again. And I think it's now getting into that point. If we stuck with this shift, if we went a few more years with this shift, you could say, I don't care how athletic or not athletic my third baseman is, as long as I position him in the right spot. And that's not okay for me. Like, I need Major League Baseball players to be the most athletic at their position for that position.
But you know what's not okay with me is over-regulating the game of baseball, telling guys what they can't do. Like, that's like, it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. That's the beauty to me of baseball, is that you get these guys have a fair shot. Regardless what side of the ball you're on, it has to play itself out. You can't run the clock out. I mean, now we're getting into pitch clocks. Telling a guy where he can't play, telling a guy how quickly he has to get rid of the ball on the mound. It's just, to me, it's just become so over-regulated that almost in the same way that it frustrates you, it's like you're not letting things play out the way that they would if you didn't regulate them. I don't know. That's just me.
I think it's a combination of analytics getting too into this. And this is, if we want to keep analytics, this is how we have to do it. We have to regulate how much we're using the analytics. That's what it was. We got to the point where this was just a math equation. That's how the Rays play baseball. Let's just do math. We're going to figure this out. This guy gets us to this hitter in the lineup, and then the next guy's coming in. And it's the same thing over and over again. And that, to me, that's not entertaining. I'm not going to watch baseball games if it's a routine ground ball to that position player in short right field all the time. That's a base hit from the ages of 4 until you're 18. And now all of a sudden it's getting into this, we have more resources to be able to tell you where to go. I don't see it that way. I think this creates baseball to be the same throughout, minus pitch clock and things like that. But if we're talking about consistency throughout baseball as what you're being taught as a little kid, all the way until you're growing up, it's shortstop plays here. He's the most athletic guy on the infield because he can get to those balls. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I think also thinking about this, and you're right, analytics has definitely shaped the game. Both, it has shaped it offensively, but specifically it's been more towards the pitching and defensive side. It's had the most impact. That's just my opinion on it. I'm sure you guys would mainly agree.
I would agree.
Right? So this is a different perspective I have. Hit average is down. Strikeouts are up. I think baseball wants to see more offense. And by taking away more of these quote unquote shifts to go it back to the more traditional sense, I think they realize that, like you're saying, your frustrations of people being in shifts in right field. Hey, if you're a team and it works, you're happy. But as a fan, as a product, people like to see offense. And if you look at every other league of how they're doing things, and just because the football season started, looked at the rules that were implemented to protect quarterbacks and to protect receivers, because why? People like seeing offense. I think that with these shifts, it's going to give a chance for more circumstances for offensive numbers. And I'd love to be able to see next year if offensive numbers rise because of the shifts being down. Because let's face it, that's what sells for people. Not everyone is there, and even we're there to see it, to see great defensive plays and great pitching performances and your team winning. But other people are there for the entertainment side, and that is, maybe plays the plate, guys having more hits, more runs scored. That's a bigger issue, I think, that Major League Baseball is also trying to navigate. So that's just a different perspective I have on that.
Bigger bases, bumping them up from the traditional 15 inches to now 18 inches. What do we think? On board?
I like it.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. Brings the stolen base back. How many bang bang plays do we get of even this? How many replays have we had? How many challenges have been made because a guy slowly comes off the bag for a split second and the glove's still on him because he's wearing this mitt and he can't grab the bag? It improves offense without changing things. We're not lowering the mound. We're not scooting the mound back. I feel like that would be too drastic of a change. This is like, okay, how can we introduce things back into baseball? The stolen base has been gone for 15, 20 years, right? It's like, I miss that. I want that back. When's the last time you had a meaningful, memorable stolen base. I think Dave Roberts against Mo. That's like the last time that I'm like, that was the biggest stolen base that I can remember in recent history. And we need more of that. We need that to be a part of the equation again. So if you put all these things together, if you put limiting the shift back onto the table, you're talking about more athletic position players. Necessary. They have to be more athletic to get to these balls. Then when you get them on the offensive side and you say, now you have to be a little bit more athletic to get that stolen base, it's reintroducing the athleticism back into baseball in my mind.
I think this is going to be the least controversial of the rules.
I would agree.
You know, I think maybe some people initially at the major league level might be like, "What is that?" And we were joking before coming on, like, "Oh, is that like when they tested this last year in AAA?" And when you look at it initially, you're like, "That looks like a pizza box at first. Like that just looks unnatural." But the reality is, it really didn't. You didn't notice it much when you started playing. It really didn't. Actually, I think it's the most safe product that they can put out there. You know, I have big feet, and so being at first base, sometimes I try to use my footwork, but it's a small space for both the runner and the guy at first base. Same thing for guys turning balls at second base. Those are the two biggest areas. And I know they've changed rules for sliding to second, but if you can make it a bigger point and it can help protect the players around the bag, because look how many guys also ankle injuries, stepping on players. Like there's things that you could prevent. I think that's great. And really, and I mean this, I did not notice it at all after a week. It didn't seem any different. So that, I think MLB baseball shouldn't have a problem with that, moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think people will remember that. Kind of like, I mean, it's different because it's on the field of play, but it kind of reminds me of the nets when they installed nets down the line where people were just outraged over it. It's like, does anybody really think about that anymore? And I think this will kind of be this
one of those things.
Yeah, follow suit where people just aren't gonna think about it after a month. But
I think of that
for me.
That specific, like, just those fans around. Even like I've sat there. You just sat there the other day. I know it's the backstop, and that net's always been there. But like, you don't think about it anymore, even now at this point, and it's been 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it falls right in suit with that.
I'm just glad they didn't add the second base. That's all, because I knew there was a thought that they might add that like orange base, and I'm like, okay, if we do this, that's too
softball,
radical.
Yeah, I think the play that comes to mind is that like that swinging bunt or bunt, catcher, pitcher. Then you have that runner that leaks into the field of play just a little bit in fair territory. I think that starts to get a little bit more eliminated. You're talking about that first baseman being able to clear himself a little bit more on the inside of the bag or the outside of the bag, right? Just that extra help, I think, would help with those types of plays as well.
So I had a note here to talk about the Dodgers being the first team to clinch a postseason spot, but we were just informed that they have not officially clinched a postseason berth yet after Major League Baseball announces error. So apparently they came back and said MLB announced that they did not account for a scenario where the Padres could still win the NL West over the Dodgers, leaving the Dodgers magic number at 1. So I had a note here to just go into how they were the first team to clinch. This will be their 10th straight season in the playoffs, which it still will be.
It's a shame they won't make the playoffs now.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
You're right. I should
They're
walk
the
that
playoffs
back.
today.
I should walk that back. We don't know that they're going to be in the postseason, according to Major League Baseball. We just don't know these things.
It's to be outdated by the end of the day.
Without a doubt. But my question for you guys, because there's only so much we can talk about in terms of them clinching versus not and all that. It's safe to say they will be in the postseason. But my question for you is, what, on a much grander, broader scale, what is it going to take to see an end to the Dodgers' reign? because we're going on. This will be, if they win this year, it'll be the NL West division title for them, the 9th time in the last 10 seasons. So, like, what is it going to take for us to see a major shift in that division? Because for all intents and purposes, it doesn't look like the Dodgers are slowing up anytime soon.
To be honest, it's going to take the other teams, continuing to get on the level. The Giants, to me, even though the Padres are the team that you look at that should be the one to take that next step. But I think the team that's won the division in the last 10 years was the Giants. I believe, Kyle, right? They won it last year. Or was it last year? Yeah.
Yeah.
They were the best team. And the Giants are a very well-run organization, but the reality is you have to be willing to spend money, but you have to be willing to be efficient and to have a good organizational culture set in place. The Giants have done that. Now they have to figure out if they can bring in more money to have more pieces fit. The Padres have spent the money, but they don't have necessarily the culture that's going to get them over the hump. And I think we've talked on this, and maybe you guys would agree or not. The Dodgers are so confident going into every year with who they have that they believe that they are going to be the best team. And I think until a team can do that a couple years, the Dodgers aren't going to lose that momentum. That's what it's going to have to take, is for culture, right pieces in place, and you have to overthrow them and then have the confidence. Because right now the Dodgers every single year go into it and go, well, we believe we're the best team, and then they go out and play that way.
I think you got to see either the Rockies or the Diamondbacks go full Tampa Bay Rays mode and fire their entire front office and focus on analytics and find a way to beat them in a different way, right? Find a way to be so efficient with how you do business, because you're never going to be able to spend the same amount of money. You're not going to be able to be just as attractive for free agents. You have to find a new way to go about this, and it has to come down to player development and scouting. Those two teams, in my mind, have to pick up what they're doing to even be in the conversation. Otherwise, it's going to be like, I mean, this is a joke at this point. So I'm assuming we're going to get a divisional read. We're going to re-division everything in the coming years, I think.
Realignment.
I think, yeah, realignment. Thank you. I think we're going to have that at any point within the next, I don't know, probably 10 years. So you got to find a way to do something different. And it's just like, it's exhausting to see the Rockies and the Diamondbacks do the same thing. And the Giants are just, I think they're old, man. I think they're just, the roster configuration just kind of confuses me a little bit. And the Padres just, I don't know. They're getting into Angels territory soon.
So I'm always the one to say, like, and I've said this about the Dodgers, star power doesn't matter if a team has chemistry. So, like, for example, if the Dodgers are going up against a team that has chemistry,
right?
Sure, their talent has to play there a little bit. But I feel like within this division, and let me clarify, when I say that about the Dodgers, it's like you can have all the star power you want. I more so mean that for the final game of the season. That's for me. When I say that, that's more addressing, assuming you make it to the World Series, like everything changes there for me. And really, a lot of October as a whole. Sure, they're going to run the table the regular season, but for me, what really changes, you can throw the star power out the window, but things have to come. The cohesion, the chemistry has to be there. And a lot of times that's how teams pull off these upsets, if you will, against teams like the Dodgers, is because they have that, and the Dodgers rely too much on their star power. But to your point, Nate, you were saying they may have to go full Rays mode. I just don't. It's tough for me to envision a scenario in which that becomes more effective than the star power over the course of a regular season. Like, it might play come October.
Yeah,
to me,
I think that's kind of the way I see it too. I don't think in the Rays. I mean, even still, we've seen them get to the World Series. We've seen them make a deep run in the postseason, and over again each year, at the beginning of the year, no one has them winning the division. We don't have that. But it is that anomaly. Yeah, but it's that team. I get it, and I'm not saying that someone else can become them, But I am saying is that they've clearly shifted their mindset to player development and scouting and trying to be smarter than everyone else. That's something that the Rockies and the Diamondbacks have to do. But I think you're right. I mean, the it's LA. You're always going to be able to attract free agents. You're always going to be able to talk that significant other into saying, let's go get a beautiful home in perfect weather and stay there for the next 10 years for $300 million. And wifey's going to be like, sure, that sounds great. Versus, some cold Detroit Tiger situation, right?
People don't want to talk about it. I think Chelsea Freeman played and I've been saying this since day one, played a much greater role in that Freddie Freeman situation than people want to give credit for. They just want to say, well, Freddie Freeman is Asian and AA. Like those are the only factors there. No, I think Chelsea Freeman played a stronger role than people are giving credit for.
Yeah.
Well, it's for them, destination and how much money you spend. Because we talk about this all the time. Players will go places if you give them contract, and players will also go to places if they're desirable locations, whether the team's really good or it's a great place to live. Now, I just want to point out with the Rockies, Denver's is a pretty fair size market, and they have the ability to attract. Denver's a great city.
They need a new owner. That's what they need.
And so Denver can attract more star power. And the thing is, every organization should try to build from the ground up. If you have a strong organization, that's only going to help your team. And that's also why the Dodgers are playing so well. It's because they spend money, but they've done a great job of bringing up some of their players that have panned out. So you have that combination. What Tampa Bay has done is that no matter what happens, you're right, analytically, they did what Oakland brought to this whole revolution of the game, but they did it better. Like Oakland was playing well, but Tampa does it better. And then when they get to the playoffs, like, well, Tampa could be in the World Series, which they've done. So for Colorado and Arizona, they need to make sure that they continue to build their farm system. But the Rockies in particular, I mean, Arizona's a good destination. That's a good selling point.
Right.
Those organizations have the ability to attract free agents, but you have to show, like the Orioles right now. The Orioles now have the ability to show people, come play in Baltimore. We have some nice young pieces, but let's just face it. What's a more desirable place to go? Go out to Arizona, go out to Colorado. If the infrastructure that the Orioles have was in Colorado and Arizona, much more desirable for players to go. That's just the reality.
That's a good point.
So,
yeah, I don't understand what the Diamondbacks are struggling with. I mean, how many players that stay in Scottsdale in the off season? How many players come early for spring training to get set up? It's like everything is right here. I don't know what the Diamondbacks are missing, but I do think they're on the upslope a little bit.
That's what I'm saying right now. This is the crazy thing, and I didn't realize this till I looked this up. Currently, at the moment, the Diamondbacks are a half game behind the San Francisco Giants. So they're making progress. Now it's going to be, when the time comes, can their organization fit with attracting some of these big names?
Nate, we got to talk about the Braves-Mariners Game 3 from Sunday. But before we do that, why don't you tell us about the people on your shirt, which, by the way, did you turn that long sleeve into a t-shirt? I just noticed that.
I did.
Good for you.
Big old baggy. So now it's just the comfy tee.
That actually looks extremely comfortable, I'm not going to lie.
Very comfortable.
I might do the same.
Yeah, it's a must. But Big League Chew, I guess we could talk about the boys over at BLC. Founded by former left-handed pitcher Rob Nelson, Big League Chew started from humble beginnings in the Portland Mavericks bullpen in 1977. For more than 40 years, the iconic pouches packed with shredded, flavorful bubblegum has become the #1 shredded gum of athletes everywhere. Big League Chew has sold more than 900 million pouches and is designated as the Hall of Fame bubblegum. Grab some gum and head to Big League Chew's social media channels at Big League Chew on Twitter, at Big League Chew Gum on Instagram to show off your Big League bubbles. You can also find a list of retailers or purchase any of their products directly from their website at bigleaguechew.com.
We don't mention their TikTok in there, do we? They're on TikTok now. So if you're on TikTok, follow BLC
they are.
on TikTok.
Yeah.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is they sent us this before they hopped on TikTok. And I haven't updated it yet, but go over TikTok, hit up BLC.
And if you're a rising student athlete, I see a lot of NIL deals being handed out by BLC. Just saying.
Very true.
Yeah.
Braves Mariners game 3. Some, not me, some are calling it the game of the year. And for good reason. I mean, it was quite the roller coaster. J-Rod leads off with a homer. Austin Riley ties it up. Adam Frazier has a 2-run triple. Sam Haggerty with an RBI single. Eugenio Suarez with his first homer of the day puts up the Mariners 5-1. J.P. Crawford puts them up 6-1. Michael Harris with a homer. The comeback becomes 6-2. Michael Harris homers again in the 9th, 6-5. Robbie Grossman hits a go-ahead 2-run homer, 7-6. And then J-Rod comes up in the 9th.
Just a missile.
It tied up at 7. And then Eugenio Suarez walk-off in the bottom of the 9th, 8-7. M's win. And take 2 of 3 from the Braves, which was, if you recall, my series to keep an eye on last Thursday when we dropped episode 307. I said, keep an eye on this series. And I even said, dare we say a possible, and people will laugh at me, a possible World Series matchup. And look at how it lived up to it.
Kyle, you sent us this. You should send out that link at some point in a bio of the highlights of that game.
Yeah.
A little free promotion for MLB. If you're a fan of a team or just want to get caught up on a game such as this, Google MLB game stories. It's a little tool that MLB has. We're not getting paid to talk about this, but it's a little tool that they have, and you can pretty much get caught up on all headline / scoring plays of a game in probably the course of, what did it take you guys, like 60 seconds?
Yeah, it's quick.
So
very quick and very entertaining. And you were right, Kyle. That series, that game Sunday night or Sunday afternoon, that lived up to the bill. That lived up to the expectation.
I think you have to. We didn't even mention the performance. I think Marco Gonzalez threw really well against the Braves. And Odorizzi, that was a pretty decent start for the Braves. We've talked about how Odorizzi probably isn't going to be that. You're not going to see him with postseason starts unless we're reaching 7 games. I don't see it. He's probably that long middle relief kind of guy in the postseason. But it lived up to the hype because it's like the Mariners have to use this as a momentum builder. They have to use this to catapult them because the Braves are real. And if you can watch this team beat up on another team that's real, like the Mets, and then you go and take 2 out of 3 from them, the crowd was lit. Your young star performed. The guy you went and got in the offseason hit 2 big bombs, one being a walk-off in Suarez. It's like the pieces are starting to come together for the Mariners.
Sold out crowd.
Yeah.
You mentioned momentum. The Mariners over the last 5 weeks are one of only 2 teams in that span to beat the Braves in consecutive games.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. This is what's so great about that. That's a playoff atmosphere game out in Seattle. And these fans have been waiting for it. Like you said, it's almost sold out crowd. And you have all the star power, like everything you'd want to watch on especially a weekend series between 2 of the best teams right now in Major League Baseball. And also it wasn't nationally televised, correct? I just want to make sure. It wasn't a nationally televised game?
No, last night's game was the Giants and Cubs, which...
That's what I thought, Giants and Cubs. But if this is what is so great, because we've talked about Atlanta's a big market, but Seattle, Julio Rodriguez feeling great, all smiles after that big contract, which again, I think people, owners, organizations, it's working so far with the young star. That attention, that is what MLB needs. Julio Rodriguez is a superstar. He came up in a huge situation. And I mean, guys, the thing is, Houston's so good, we know, but now is Seattle now believing that believing's not a word. Is Seattle believing? We'll see. We can make it.
Hey, they do it different out there in Seattle. Seattle's believing this year.
They're believing. Seattle. We trademark it. Seattle is believing that they can go and win postseason games, and the fans believe it. The players believe it, and when you see the energy that they brought from the fans and the players, they fed off each other. Wouldn't it be a great story? Do you guys think that they could be one of the teams that could sneak and have a dream playoff run?
I don't think there are many teams out there right now that want to play the Seattle Mariners in a postseason series.
I agree.
It's as simple as that.
I just think, I mean, it's got to be fun as a Mariners fan right now because of like the guys that you feel like your organization doubled down on. You know what I mean? J-Rod's real. Everyone knows that. But like, you go and get Adam Frazier. You go and get Suarez. You double down on Marco. You go and get Sam Haggerty and add that. I mean, that guy is a problem. I don't care. He reminds me of like Nimmo and what's his face out in Baltimore, Mateo. It's like the guy that like you don't game plan for, but you probably should because he's going to affect the game in some way. Great defense, great base running, a problem pest at the plate. Like this is coming together to be pretty impressive for the Mariners, despite a little bit of. I mean, this is the first time the Mariners bullpen has really shown like a solid chink in the armor in recent memory, and even then, their offense comes and picks them up, and that's what good teams do.
Nate's only real hang-up over the course of the year with the Mariners has been their pitching, but I sent you this prior to this weekend. The series with the Braves. Since August 23rd, again, this was entering this weekend series. In 15 games, Mariners starting pitching had led Major League Baseball with a 1.61 ERA, 12 quality starts, and a .088 whip, which is second in all of baseball.
Is that good?
One would say.
One might think, yeah.
One might think. So the last thing I want to rope in is that you talked about fans seeing their organization double down. And last year, the Mariners made some trades at the deadline that people thought of them being more sellers. Mm-hmm. And fans were upset, and some of the players were upset. And the general manager came out and said, we're not giving in. And I think he went on to talk about, our moment is coming. Mm-hmm. And this year, they had the opportunity then to prove that to the players and the fan base, and boy has he. For all the moves that they made, extending J-Rod, and look what they are. It's an extremely exciting time in Seattle. I'm rooting for the Mariners. I love it. I think it's so good for the game.
I agree.
I've said to multiple people over the course of the last couple of weeks that I couldn't be more on the Orioles bandwagon right now, but unfortunately, it just looks like it's slipping away. It just looks like the wheels on the bandwagon are starting to fall off a little bit. So if that's the case, then I feel like my attention, as well as the majority of America's attention in terms of a team to latch onto, will shift to the Seattle Mariners because I think everybody wants to see the Seattle Mariners succeed.
Don't sleep on the Orioles, though. The Jays and the Rays and the O's, or I think the Jays and O's have 6 more games. Jays and Rays got to play each other. It's going to be a dogfight.
I'm not giving up on the O's. I'm just saying.
And your Red Sox, they caused a problem.
Like I said, had to put them on notice. Put them on notice.
Okay, thank you.
And another thing real quick on as far as following, matchups, what's coming up, the Mariners kind of have some light work ahead of them. I mean, they're in San Diego for 2, but then it's Angels, A's, Royals, Rangers, and ends with the A's and Tigers.
I just read this off. What was it? A couple episodes ago? I want to say
they have one of the lightest schedules.
They're literally 30th. Literally 30th in terms of strength of schedule.
There's no reason why that the Rays, or sorry, not the Rays, the Mariners should be in the postseason. I think we've all expected them to be, and now you're through this phase. It looks like they're in tremendous shape.
They might even get the top spot in the wild card.
I mean, right now they're right up there, right? They're right on the cusp of it. If I'm
Well,
not mistaken.
let's shift gears here. Keep the American League playoff picture in mind here. Let's talk about the White Sox and Tony La Russa. We didn't get a chance to address the news when it first broke about him stepping away, but it I think has since been announced that he's out indefinitely.
Yeah, I
that
think
what
it
I
was
saw?
like kind of like I saw the update over the weekend. It was kind of a check-in, and it was like he's not even certain. Do we know what it is? Does anyone know what it is?
So he had a pacemaker inserted, and says So he says he's uncertain when he'll return to the club. But I tell you what, Miguel Cairo, I'm loving that fit right now. He is running the show in Chicago, and we were talking about before we hopped on. There is a date, which I believe August 31st was when this news was announced that Tony La Russa would be stepping away. Since August 31st, let me just run through the numbers I got here. August 31st, the White Sox have been the best team in the American League at 9-3. Since August 31st, the White Sox have had the most runs per game by a team with 6.08 runs. The fourth most home runs in baseball, all of baseball, since August 31st with 18. The third lowest ERA in baseball since August 31st at 2.8. Third most strikeouts by staff in baseball since August 31st at 110. Fifth best hits per nine in baseball since August 31st at 7.13. And the fifth best walk per nine in baseball since August 31st, 255. So if the White Sox do anything, and we pretty much pronounce them
Dead.
Pretty much. We pretty much wrote them off. If they do anything down the stretch, they can point to a singular date on the calendar and say that's when things turned around.
Ryan, let me ask you this.
Yeah, shoot.
There has to be this factor that no one really talks about, and it's the fact that the disconnect or possible disconnect between manager and clubhouse. And tell me what that feels like if you've ever been in a clubhouse where you felt like I don't have that connection with my manager and I'm in the majority of guys.
It's a struggle. There's tension. I think that because let's look at it this way. If you have those types of feelings and that sensation and you're winning, and because to be honest, this could have been problems last year, but the team was winning. The team was playing well, so winning cures a lot of things. It's when you go through these tougher parts, and for the majority of the year, the White Sox have gone through some extremely tough situations. And I think right now, as far as with what players are doing, it could be two things. It could be one, or you could make it three options. One, you try to rally around that, I hope La Russa makes a recovery. I hope his health's okay, first and foremost. So some players want to go out there and play better maybe for him. The second thing could be if there's a change, what's happened, and because he had to leave and you have someone else that's going to be on site, being the interim manager, does that cause a spark? And the third thing could be also is that there's a realization that this is it for the White Sox season, that there is no more time to figure it out. This is the final month. And whichever one it was, and I think there probably is a correlation of some of those 3 points that came about, but the White Sox understand that if they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to give it one last push, it has to be now. And they have played some, Kyle just read off all the stats. They're playing well. So they're going to have to continue this. Whatever they're feeling, they got to ride this as long as possible. Because, like I said, this is their final stand. They're 2.5 games back. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many games are left in the season. But if the White Sox are going to come alive, which they seem they have, you have no more lifelines. This is it. And so I'm really, as a baseball fan, I would love to see this race come down to the wire.
It's not like the Guardians have just like completely. This division is up for grabs. I think it's like you got to have that conversation. And I'm sure Cairo came in and was like, as bad as we've been, as underwhelming as we've played, this division is still within reach. We could still make this happen. And you talk about star power, they have the guys that would be a team where I'd be like, I don't know if I want to see you build momentum into the postseason.
Miguel Cairo gives me big Alex Cora vibes. And I know I use Alex Cora a lot as like my standard, but in terms of being a player manager, I truly don't think there's a better guy in the league that is that. And just seeing even White Sox fans who have just been pretty much in a pit of depression all season, just with the way things have gone, the way decisions have been made, the way things have played out over the course of this season, even they're looking at this and being like, this is our guy right now. Let's ride. And I get this Alex Cora vibe from Miguel Cairo, and they're only 2 years apart in age. I looked it up. They're on the younger end. They understand what their players need, what their players want, what's best for their guys, the decisions they need to make. And I think it's paying off for these guys.
I wouldn't be surprised if Russa does not come back and the White Sox make the postseason, that Cairo is not the manager of the White Sox next year.
I would agree.
I would not be surprised.
I would agree.
And I actually would expect that if that were to happen. You know, and also, guys, here's the reality. I just looked up the schedule. The White Sox have 4 more games against the Guardians. And the Guardians...
Did we mention already they swept the Twins, in case people are wondering?
We did not mention that. So the Guardians, don't sleep on the Guardians. But so
the other series we said to pay attention to, by the way.
Yeah, it was real snooze fest for the old Twins.
Yeah, they unfortunately, that was a big blow for them. They're dropping 4.5 back. But for Cleveland and for the White Sox, and this is where it gets really interesting, that the White Sox got 4 more shots at them. But on top of it, Cleveland still has to play the Twins. They got to go play the Rays. And then, yes, they'll have some quote-unquote easier games. But the 3-game series that the White Sox are going to have, if you can imagine the White Sox are within a game and a half going into that series. Isn't that what you want as a White Sox fan, to just be right there? And as a baseball fan, wouldn't you want to see the division up for grabs with almost 10 days left in the season? Maybe that's just
Absolutely. Me. Yeah, absolutely.
Good spot to be in.
Yeah, I think Cairo definitely has that, just like the younger connection, I think it makes a big deal. I don't know if Tony La Russa can, but I'm sure Spanish speaking probably makes a bigger connection as well. And, you know, when you talk about the guys that, and I think that's kind of the perfect comparison to Cora's, because it's like that guy that maybe wasn't the superstar hitting in the middle of the lineup. He's a key piece on a lot of different teams that made a lot of different runs.
I think Tony does. He does Spanish. We talked about that when he took the job. That was a selling point.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, it looks like they've got a spark and it's gonna be working. So keep going. The White Sox need to be in the postseason.
Wow, how the tune has changed.
They need to be. That's the only way that you can't chalk this up as an utter failure from top to bottom, is that, and if they make a run or not, I doubt it, but they need to be. And it's the only way that they're not going to be calling for Tony La Russa's head when this season is done.
What do you got, Ryan?
I was just saying, they have an extremely talented lineup. They really do.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that the bats can stay hot, and the pitching is going to be the big thing. I mean, we all know they have certain guys, and I haven't followed Dylan Cease's numbers recently.
You don't need to. He's Cy Young.
Okay. Well, I know. So he's been their best guy. Yeah, goodness. He's at 2. He's continuing to low his ERA. So you have him, and then you have guys that like Giolito, that hasn't had the year that you were hoping. But you have guys there where you can bring it together. And I hate that we're continuing to say that, but it's not like they don't have the talent. The talent is there. Get to the playoffs, anything can happen. Yeah. But last thing I'll say is the Guardians, props to them. They are doing everything they can to hold on and win that division. And I don't think Francona and that group gets enough credit.
Who knows, man? Maybe Jose Ramirez saw something that us average fans didn't see when he agreed to that low ball of a contract. He said, "Yeah, they got something cooking here. Who knows?"
I don't even know if Cleveland fans care if the Guardians make it or not. I just, it doesn't seem like it's, you know what I mean?
There's a there's a percentage.
Few.
Yeah, there's a percentage there that certainly
the
cares.
diehards for sure, but it's like, I don't know.
I mean, you could really say that about a lot of fan bases, but
yeah, I think the White Sox need to go after.
I mean, what are they going to do? Turn to the Browns? Like, what's the alternative?
Cleveland, man, it's all of it.
I don't think that's possible.
Every part of Cleveland is,
just a mess. Let me share some information about SeatGeek. Nate, SeatGeek is the answer to all your ticket needs. Looking for tickets? Do you have plans of friends or family to make it to an upcoming game or concert, or even looking months ahead to nail down a date to get tickets before they sell out? With SeatGeek, you can find tickets, games, concert shows, and even theater performances with just a few easy clicks, or make it even better for you if you're a first-time user of SeatGeek. Next time you add some tickets to your cart, use our promo code THREEOHTAKE. That's 30TAKE spelled out at checkout to save $20 instantly off your first purchase as a first-time user. It's all you got to do to save some of that.
Cold hard cash.
Enter promo code 30TAKE. It's our social handle at checkout. Nate, care to address the Albert Pujols situation?
The bombs are getting into bombs at this point. These are not wall scrapers anymore. I don't know what he's done mechanically to find this extra juice, but he's got it.
I need to throw this out there because nobody else wants to say it, and I just want to propose the idea.
Get it out there.
Are they juicing Albert Pujols' baseballs?
No.
For his at-bats. I just want to throw it out there. I'm not saying I believe it. I'm not saying that's what they're doing.
Okay.
I just want to
throw that comment back.
I just want to throw it out there so we can explore all avenues here to this situation.
You know what? That's not the avenue I thought you were going. No.
I'll back that theory.
Oh my God!
Because come on, like,
look, Ryan, look at these
you're
baseballs.
Get me all fired up. It's like we're talking about Matt Wieters again. And you guys not giving Matt Wieters his due.
Look at these baseballs. The beginning of this year, they were wall scrapers. We're talking second and third row. Now they're hitting halfway up the foul pole. Now they're going deep 430 right center. I'm like, where is this power coming from?
At the very least, Ryan, do you not think that it's even slightly suspicious?
No.
They've already admitted they do this for games.
Well, let me just say this. Since he's gotten on a tear, since he's seemed to pick up some slack, so the month of August, he hit 8 home runs. And for that month, his consistency in playing time significantly increased. So my theory is that Albert got in a rhythm. He's playing consistently and getting at bats. And when you're hot, you're hot. And if you are a great player, you're going to find ways. I mean, David Ortiz was playing well to the end of his career. Albert Pujols is finding ways to do that as well. The greats do it. I am not going to sit here and let you guys say, well, the balls are getting more juiced.
I'm not saying these aren't home runs with regular balls or juice balls. I'm just saying they're going majestic now. And that's not what he's had in the tank for a while. Well, can we all agree on that?
Can we just also point out the fact that David Ortiz was 40 in his final season, and the papers say that
67.
The papers say he's 42, and realistically he's like 66. So, I mean, that's all I'm gonna say. And again, this is not because I just want to get out in front of this. I know people are saying that Nate is the one that's been putting all the Pujols slander out there over the course of the year. I'm not
slander.
contributing. It's been full slander, nothing but. I'm not contributing to this slander. I'm just throwing this idea out there because it seems like people are tiptoeing around this possibility, but nobody actually wants to say it because nobody wants to take anything away. But here at the 3-0 Take, we're just gonna lay it out on the table and dissect it from there. I just wanted to see if there was any response to what was just floating around out there. That's all.
Yuck. He's okay. So I'm just going to, you know what? Just not going to, I'm done. I'm not going to go back into that. I'm just going to say this. Albert Pujols, consistent at bats. He has 11 home runs in the last month. He is feeling it. And yes, he's hitting some bombs. But I truly think he is just putting it together. And we talked about this. This isn't that, hey, let's throw Albert out to get out there. This is Albert is winning games for the Cardinals and
hitting go-ahead home runs.
He is 3 away from 700.
I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, he knows it's obvious that the moments are never too big for him. He's been through everything in his career already. I think this is just like a part of it. Yeah. And then
here comes
we got 2.5 weeks.
Here comes Ryan with just the statistical evidence. Well, the increased ABs, the elevation of the parks he's playing at. Okay, buy into the conspiracy one time, Ryan. Just buy into the conspiracy. Like, get on board with us. Get on board with the possibility, even just to the slightest degree, that they might be juicing the baseballs.
I won't do it.
Let's get weird. We got less than a month left of the season. Let's get a little weird with it. All right. Let's make this race against time a little more interesting than it already is.
You know what?
Just buy it.
I'm not buying this one. You guys might be able to convince me on something else.
Let me throw this idea out there.
I want you to look at the distance, the average distance of home runs in the last.
Goodness.
I mean, he's hitting nukes.
Do we
at 66?
Do we have the StatCast?
At 66 ripe years old, he's hitting nukes.
Well.
Let me ask you this though: if he not only gets to 700, but he continues a tear and maybe I'm just gonna throw this number out there. Say he gets freaking 705. Are you not going to be a little confused as to what's going on here?
Okay, if he gets to 70, if he hits 9 or 8 more bombs, then yes, I might throw a challenge flag. No, wrong sport, but or what's the headset? For baseball.
Give me the headset. Yep.
Headset, that's baseball. Yep. Yeah. Both flag, headset. Then yeah, maybe I'll be like, because that would put him at 19 home runs in a month and a half. Yes, 705, we can challenge that. Everything right now though, I truly think though, it's going to come down to the wire. I think we're going to be in that last week, maybe last 5 games, and Albert's going to be, is he going to get it or not? And I think 705 is too much. Then we can be on the same conspiracy. Until then, I'm not jumping on the Kyle and Nate.
That's the problem.
Conspiracy wagon.
That's the problem. If he gets to 705, you'll be behind the 8 ball. The conspiracy will have already taken off. So you either need to hop on board now while it's still fresh.
It's true.
Because if you're not with us at 697, you're not going to be with us at 705. That's just how it is. That's not how this bandwagon works. That's not how this conspiracy operates.
All right, you know what? Then I'm standing my ground or standing my seat. With that, I'm
going to be looking forward.
My creaking seat.
I'm going to be looking forward to Ryan somehow defending Albert Pujols' 723 home runs at the end of the season based on the increased at bats that he's getting. That's going to be interesting.
Can't wait for that one. 723. He's on his way.
That'll be fun. I think it's fitting to say goodbye to the teams that have been eliminated over the last week or so.
Adios.
There was a little bit of a discrepancy. It doesn't sound like you guys think the Royals have been eliminated, but the sources that I'm looking at show that the Royals have, in fact, been eliminated. Not sure if that's been confirmed, but as of right now, we know for sure the A's, Nationals, Pirates, and Tigers. Adios.
It's been a fun run. I think that everyone's known they've been eliminated since June. Or that's usually kind of how it feels. Hey, let me ask you a question here, just for fun exercise. Of the teams eliminated, any of them you think can have a Cinderella year next year?
I thought it was going to be the Tigers this year, but that was a wildly massive disappointment.
Boy, were you mistaken.
I was big on the Tigers coming in this year, man. Like,
Of those teams, it's got to be them. Like the rest of the teams are just bad.
By default?
Yeah, I think.
well, I mean,
I think they're more ready than the A's. I think they're more ready than the Pirates, the Nationals. I think you were just a few years early on your prediction, but
I don't know
I
about a
think
few.
the Tigers are going to be okay.
Maybe one or two off, but not a few. We're not getting into the 3 territory. They'll be here before 3 years.
Eh.
I think so. I think Tigers make the move. I think they'll make moves, just not this year. Obviously, it's not this year.
And they could.
Miguel's got to retire, I think. I think we're getting close to that.
No, I think he said he's coming back next year.
Yeah, I know. I think he's got to retire for any moves to be made.
Look, the math says they're out of it, but if they believe, they can pull this thing out. Especially with
Anything
believing
can
in.
happen.
Just
like we
keep
said,
believing in.
the
Keep
division,
believing in.
the division's up for grabs. So I mean, if they want a piece of the pie, it's theirs for the taking. They just got to play real good ball these last 2 weeks.
Keep believing in. You never know what can
Real
happen.
good.
That's why you play the game.
Oh, I was mistaken. We got 3 weeks actually, because it goes to like a week into October. So
Yeah.
even more good news for the Tigers. They can make it happen.
They're going to be okay.
Before we get out of here, Nate, remind the people about what we're doing with Chalkboard, and tell the people to get over to Chalkboard.
Yeah, get over to Chalkboard. We're doing group chats over there, hanging out, talking stuff. But if you're into betting, Chalkboard is kind of like a little community home for your sports betting. You can basically just kind of merge what you're doing. You can sync what you're doing on DraftKings or FanDuel and get them over on Chalkboard. You can track how your betting's been doing. And other people can see it, and you can build a little community. But as far as us, that's how we're looking to communicate with you guys. We got some things in the works throughout, the off season and maybe even next year of what we want to do. So get on over there, hop into some group chats. We're definitely going to be doing some things for the postseason as well. Some little chat parties, maybe even some little watch parties, things like that. And for us as the 3-0 take, we're looking for a little betting guru. So, we're looking to introduce some betting into our segments or into our podcast for your own little segment. So if you're a guru, your sports betting stuff. I should say baseball betting, obviously. If you know baseball betting and if you can pay attention and you can talk and you know how to articulate how this stuff works, hit us up. And we're gonna possibly try to create something around what you're capable of doing. But you got to be good. So make sure you know your stuff and make sure you're prepared. And just hit us up and we'll talk to you a little bit more about what we're looking for.
And again, to reiterate, this doesn't have to be a sports betting thing for you. Like if you're not into sports betting, you can still just get the Chalkboard app.
Yeah, it's just a group chat. That's all it is.
Just join our group chats if you want to. I'm not all that much into sports betting. Nate, that's more your lane. So I'm just gonna be chatting it up with the guys and gals that want to partake in some group chats. Again, hit up the link in the bio, or you can go to our website 30take.com/chalkboard and be sure to use our link, because that's how you're going to get to our, what is it, the board?
Yeah, the boards.
Our board.
Get to the board. You can add boards from other things that you're paying attention to. It doesn't have to be just us. It's a little community though, and that's what we're trying to do is chat with you guys. And if you want to hang out with us and talk games, if we're watching games together, we can hop in the group chat and talk about the games, things like that. So get on over there. It's fun.
Last thing before we wrap it up, I failed to mention, all of us failed to mention, Pujols 697, the gesture. I don't know if you guys saw.
I
Do you guys have
did.
any idea what
That
I'm
was
talking about?
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
not see
So Pujols Pujols hits 697. They're in Pittsburgh. I guess the guy and the girl, I can't remember if they were married or not, but they snatched up the ball, and so I guess they met him after the game, I think is what I read. And he said they basically offered to give it to him back, and they probably thought, oh, we'll probably get like autograph ball or whatever. But Pujols found out, whether it was through them or through another source, that the girl's dad had passed away a year ago. And so he was like, no, you guys just keep, he's like, you keep that. That would mean more to you than it would to me. So the ball that put Pujols in sole possession of fourth place all time is now owned by her, because Pujols said, no, that would mean more to you, or it'd mean more to me if you had it than if I had it. So just wanted to give Pujols some love there.
Classy.
Very
amazing
classy move.
Yeah.
Amazing gesture.
And on top of that, I think they still got autographed baseballs.
Yeah, he gave them each a signed ball.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Love that.
Great ambassador for the game. And why wouldn't you want him to hit 723 home runs, Kyle?
I mean, he may very well finish the year with 800 home runs. Time will tell. I mean, he's going to get the ABs. He's going to get the ABs. The matchups are there. Got to check the elevation of some of these parks, but
all the balls are juiced apparently. Okay, I'm getting out of here, guys.
The path is there. The path is there. You guys got anything else? We got to get out of here.
I'm getting out of here. I'm done with this conspiracy.
Nope, that's it for me. I'm done.
Ryan?
That's it. Just it's always a pleasure, guys, and for everyone else, just remember it's always a great day to have a day. And until next time, enjoy your Monday. And Nate, Kyle, have a great one.
Don't get chasing curveballs, folks.
We love you all, and as always, looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.